Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name's Melissa and you find yourself at Melissa's Cozy Corner, where we talk about books, baking, and all the other cozy fun stuff in the world. Today is going to be a little bit different than some of my other videos. It's a little less planned, just because it's been kind of a big week. It's been a lot. It's been raining all day, and I figured we would just have a spontaneous winter day to not just have a good winter day, but maybe kind of clear away some blues that we feel if it's dark and cloudy and gloomy and not perfect to go outside and enjoy the actual winter day. Or if we're just feeling, you know, a little blue, and that's okay. So I figured whoops, almost spilled my coffee. I figured we would just have a cozy day, spontaneous winter planning. We'll go ahead and maybe do some crafts. I'll show some ideas of some wonderful things you can do to kind of just enjoy your slow day. I have some book recommendations as well. A lot of them are what I generally read during the winter time, where I'm feeling a little bit more philosophical. And then I totally forgot. I baked scones this morning, so I'll go ahead and just show you my scone recipe. It's super easy, it's really delicious, and it's a perfect way to kind of start your morning. One of the ways I definitely like to start my morning when I'm feeling a little bit more down or not as energetic is I like to go through my dresses and see which one's gonna make me feel light and pretty and excited for the day. I do my makeup even though I'm not gonna go anywhere and I won't see anybody today. I won't even see my partner today. He's gone working all day long, so I'll be home from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, and so I'm doing my makeup for myself and of course for you guys, because I like to look nice for you. But today's really just about taking care of ourselves, loving ourselves. So step one for making a better day or starting a day off strong when we're feeling a little bit down or just wanting a good day in general is find something nice to wear, whether that be a cozy sweater and your cozy sweatpants, a nice t-shirt and some cute jeans, a pretty dress, or a comfy dress. I have a couple comfy dresses I love to wear, and do a little bit of makeup if you want to. If you don't like makeup, don't do it at all. I just like to add a little bit of blush to my face so I look a little bit more alive, and a little bit of lipstick because it makes me feel strong and powerful. And I made myself a cup of coffee. I highly recommend you do the same. You can also make tea or hot cocoa, whatever makes your heart happy. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started today. Again, it's cozy, it's comfy, it's also empowering and loving and just being a good winter day and a good start to a morning where you're watching this, or a day, or an evening, wherever you want to watch this video. So I hope you make yourself a cozy little drink. Make sure you cozy up on the sofa while you watch this to come up with some amazing ideas of what you can do today, or you can just sit on the sofa and watch amazing YouTube videos all day, whatever makes your heart happy again. And I'll go ahead and go through first how to make the most delicious scones and tasty scones for a winter day, and then I think I'll talk about some amazing book recommendations that I highly recommend to cozy up, get comfy, and just have some feels. Or have a winter feel, or think more philosophical. We'll then go ahead and look at some crafts to do. So these will be crafts I've done through the last couple weeks, or some I will be doing today as well with you. So I hope you guys are excited for this video. I'm excited to share how I kind of lift my spirit up when I'm feeling a little bit more blue, or how I kind of spend my day when I'm doing nothing, when I have no plans to see anybody, when I have no plans during the day and I just want to veg out and do things I want to do. So I hope you guys are excited and ready, and let's go ahead and make some, I already made my scones, but I'll show you how I made my scones. So I'll show you how I made my scones. These scones are so delicious and so delightful and absolutely perfect for an early morning bake and breakfast. So I'm gonna go ahead and be putting cranberries in my scones, but you can put whatever berry, or you can put chocolate chips in there, whatever you really want in your scones. I just want a nice wintry flavor, so I'm gonna wash my cranberries and get them ready for these scones. We're gonna go ahead and put all of our dry ingredients into a big bowl. So I put my baking powder, sugar, salt, and flour all into a big bowl. And I'm gonna throw all my butter in there as well. My butter is nice and cold because we're gonna go ahead and press all of our butter into our flour, coating all of that flour in that delicious butter. We're gonna add some heavy whipping cream, our 1 egg. Make sure you're cracking that with confidence into a separate bowl and then dropping it directly into your bowl if you have no eggshells or any weirdness in it. We're gonna mix this up until it's slightly combined, so you'll still have a lot of dry ingredients stuck in there. It's just starting the mixing process. We're gonna add our cranberries. These are just fresh cranberries. I haven't done anything with them. We're gonna mix it up together until it's sticking all together. Flour our counter and then drop our dollop of scones directly on top of our floured counter. One thing I noticed about my batter today is it was very, very wet, so I ended up having to add quite a bit of flour. This can happen sometimes, just in the instance that your dough is just more wet, it's more humid. I might have added too much cream. This can happen, it's completely okay. I just went ahead and formed my dough into a nice little disc. And then I'm using a pastry cutter, but you can go ahead and use a knife. And I'm splitting these all up into little triangles, so I have 8 scones in total. I'm gonna move them over to a baking tray. We'll be baking these scones at 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how fat your scones are. I'm also gonna be adding a couple little cranberries just on top, so I have those little ruby cranberries poking out. And to make sure I get that nice brown color on top of my scones, I'm adding a little bit more cream. For sweetness, I'm gonna add a little bit of this pearl sugar. And then I'm popping these in the oven, like I said, for about 20 to 30 minutes until golden brown and they look like this. We're gonna let them cool because they're gonna be really, really hot. And once they're cool, we can go ahead and plate them up on a little plate. I like adding whipped cream just because I like something sweet in my morning. Adding a little bit of cinnamon sugar to my whipped cream, and oh my goodness, this is the best way to wake up in the morning. So before I lose the light I do have outside, it's the middle of the afternoon and it's so dark. So I figured I'll go ahead and just share some of the books I highly recommend during this season. These are books I love reading. It's just, they either make me feel really good feelings, make me feel sad feelings, or make me think really intensely on my life and how I'm living or how I want to live or goals I have. I know that's a wide range of books, but these books are, when I think about winter, when I saw these books, I was looking through my bookcase and I saw these books and I thought, this is the book I would read during this time. So I'm going to share a couple of the books that I have on my list or on my sofa next to me. These are books I've already talked about before, so sorry if you're hearing them again, but these are just lovely, lovely books and things that I enjoy reading and I highly recommend. So we're going to go ahead and start off with a couple fantasies, because I think winter is a perfect time to cozy up on the sofa and just dive into an intense fantasy that you just want to be invested in. Because you can't go outside, it's dark all the time, so, well, you could go outside. You could go outside when it's light outside and it's nice outside. But when it's rainy and gloomy and sad, we just want to sit in and adventure, like Lord of the Rings. So, my first recommendation is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This was actually my first fat fantasy book, and I loved it. I thought it was so interesting, so intriguing, such an adventure. We have multiple different perspectives in this book, and I think there's only one POV that I wasn't as interested in at the very beginning. So for the first 200 pages, I wasn't interested in that person's POV, but for the rest of the POVs and the rest of the novel, I was really invested. I was really intrigued. We have a couple different characters that we follow kind of more closely throughout this novel. We have like I said, a couple POVs, quite a few POVs, but I think there's about 3 characters that we follow closely behind. We follow our dragon rider, we follow our like mage type person, and then we also follow our queen. And this is so intriguing. I love the fact that we have strong female characters throughout the entire novel. It's mainly strong female characters, and we also have dragons, which who does not like a good dragon story? I do have to say I have not read the new book that's out. Actually, it's been out for a little while. I have not read the new dragon romantasy novel, but I actually really highly recommend The Priory of the Orange Tree. It's not as in dragon tense, but I do think it does still carry a beautiful story, a wonderful adventure, and something you can get really carried away with. The great thing also about The Priory of the Orange Tree is it's one book. They also have a second book. They've released a second book, but it deals with some of the same characters, but you don't have to read it. You don't have to read that book at all. You can just read this one and enjoy it and really dive deep into a wonderful fantasy that just really takes you away. So if you're looking for something that's going to take you away, take you on an adventure, and take you through this amazing world of dragons and magic and power and a little bit of politics, then I highly recommend The Priory of the Orange Tree. It's a great way to get lost in a book for a little while. Another fantasy novel I recommend, this is more of a YA fantasy, and it's also a shorter book, but there's a lot of books in this series, but it's a quick read, really easy, and that's Fortuna. And that's Fortuna. It sounds like I'm saying Fortuna, but Fortuna. All I can hear in my head is Fortuna now, because it's spelled Fortuna, Fortuna. But okay, sorry. Fortuna, and this is by KJ Sutton. This is the first novel of a series. I think it has 6 books or 7 books in it. I can't remember because they keep writing more novels. But this is a really, really fun, smutty little novel. It's about fairies, it's about magic, it's about a woman. I don't know, it was just a really fun read. I'm not normally somebody who reads fae magic, smutty books and gets into it, but I really got into this, and I have all the other ones on Kindle. I'm not gonna say this is the best book I've ever read. I think I gave it a 3.5, 4 star, but I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun read. I really got invested with the characters because I was curious as to what was gonna happen. I'm curious as to what's gonna happen in the next ones. I even put them on my Kindle because I was like, hey, I want to read these when I'm out and about, but I don't need to like sit down and read the actual hardcover copy of the book. Not hardcover copy, but the physical copy of the book. And it was just, I don't know, it was just a fun read. It's about a young woman who gets entwined, I'll say entwined, with a fairy man. And this fairy man is very like murr, and she just has a lot of feelings, and she's confused, and she just wants to find her brother. Her brother's gone missing, and she wants to find him, and she thinks she has a clue, and so she gets involved with this fae guy because the fae guy says, hey, I think I know where your brother is. And she says, where is he? And she's like, well, and he says, you have to go with me, and then I'll go ahead and tell you where he's at. Well, long story short, she ends up going through this big adventure because he kind of tricks her. I'm not giving away the whole story because I would highly recommend you read this if you're looking for a smutty, a little adventure, fantasy, romance book. And again, there's quite a few of these. There's a couple books that lead after this one, but it's quite short. Again, it's a quick read and it's enjoyable. So if you're not looking forward to reading a big fat book like this, where it's a sit down and read for a really long time, but you're looking for something thinner and a little bit more smuttier, then I highly recommend Fortuna. All right, now we're gonna do one that I really liked. I really loved this book, and I think it was perfect for me to read. And when I'm feeling blue, or when my anxiety is a little bit higher, or when I'm questioning things a lot, or when I'm in my head and I can't figure out like how to get out of my head, this book was really, I connected really well with it, which I'm kind of concerned about, but I also feel reassured about, if that makes sense. And that's Jenny Lawson, Broken. And I can't tell you how lovely this book was, because it wasn't always lovely. There were some really funny parts. It's just different stories of Jenny Lawson's life and how she deals with her depression and anxiety and her mental health, and how she functions in her daily life, but also functions with her family, and how she does her work, and just everything like that. And it's reassuring knowing that other people deal with mental health problems, and that they also learn how to function, and they learn how to work, and they learn how to do things. And my anxiety is not always terrible, but sometimes I feel like it can be quite numbing, and I can have a hard time kind of doing the daily functions. But then now I sometimes think about Jenny Lawson and how, hey, this person also has a hard time sometimes, and it's okay to have a hard time. It's okay to feel a little blue, and it's okay to want to just stay inside and not interact with anybody. And it's okay to just be stuck in your head for a moment. But it's also good to have a way to escape, and to be able to talk to people, and to be able to interact with others, and to be able to just be who you are, but also know who you are, if that makes sense. I think recognizing things that I needed to work on and understanding my anxiety more has made me kind of make it easier to get through life sometimes. Understanding how certain days where I'm just feeling a little meh, it's okay to feel those ways, but it's also really good to find ways to get out of those situations. So I know if I'm feeling a little meh, if I put on a nice dress, put a little makeup on, and look at myself and say, wow, you look really pretty today, then I feel a little bit more stronger. And I think reading Jenny Lawson's Broken, it was nice to see how she copes with certain things and how she handles certain things. And so if you're looking for somebody who also deals with anxiety or depression or mental health, I think Broken is a great book to just kind of pick up and read. If you're also recognizing, there was one chapter I recognized that caused me to actually have more anxiety, and I was like, you know what, I can skip this chapter, because it's not a novel, it's not a book that I have to read from front to back. It's a novel where I can pick up and just read a chapter sometimes and enjoy the chapter. And there's a couple chapters I've marked in here where I'm like, I love this chapter, it's funny, it's charismatic, it's connecting. I connect really well with it, is what I mean. And so I think this was just a really nice book to read, and I highly recommend it. And now I have like a few books that are kind of random and different. So I'm going to talk about those books because I think those are always fun to talk about. And the first one made me cry about 5 times within the first couple pages. And that's The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. I don't know if you should read this if you don't want to cry. If you don't want to cry, don't read this, because you are going to cry. You're going to cry because it's about a dog, it's about a man, it's about a dog and his man, and it's about the love they have for each other, and it's just so darn freaking cute. But it's also so darn freaking sad. It's one of the first books I picked up when I was here in Germany. I read it on the train and I burst out in tears, and I was just like, I don't know if I should read it. And I don't regret it. I love this book so much. I thought it was so sweet, so if you're an animal parent, or if you just love animals, this will break your heart, but also make you feel so many feelings, and also just love your pet even more. So this I'm only recommending if you're looking for a really good cry and if you love animals. But if you love animals and not looking for a really good cry, then I don't recommend it. And if you don't like animals, then I'm confused. I'm sorry, but I'm confused. I hope I didn't scare you away for any of those people who don't like animals, but I'm an animal lover and I always will be. And yeah, okay, we're moving on. The other book I recommend that's just kind of a fun read, more of a fantasy, but it's a historical fantasy. Not really a historical fantasy, but there's some history little pieces in there, and that's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is just a really good read. I enjoyed reading this one because I got invested in the story. I was interested in the characters. The last chapter, I'm not gonna lie, I did not like at all, But the entire story, I think it fit really well. I think it was really well mapped out. We're following this young woman who decides to pretty much, I don't want to say sell her soul, but she almost sells her identity to be able to live the life she wants. But she ends up not living the life she wants, because what that means is she ends up living through time, being forgotten all the time, because she doesn't have an identity. She doesn't have a way to make people remember her, because she's sold that. And so she lives and lives and lives over time, and every time she meets somebody, the next moment they forget her. And every time she does something, nobody can remember her for doing it. She can't create anything, she can't be anything, she can't do anything. And so her life is just really hard to watch or read. And I think this was really intriguing to me, because I felt like one thing that all of us really want to do is leave a mark on the world. Not everybody, but a lot of us feel like we should leave a mark on the world. We should leave something behind to be remembered, whether that be photos, whether that be a connection with a family member, children. There's so many different things, and Addie LaRue can't. She just doesn't have the ability to. And so we follow her story through time and through her moments of struggle and pain and almost, I wouldn't say redemption, because there's not redemption, but her moments through all of these things. And it's just intriguing. So if you're looking for a book where you're going to be jumping through time a bit, which is actually quite interesting. I liked the time jumps. But I think this is just a really good book for anybody who's looking for a bit of an adventure that's also going to make you feel some feels. I didn't cry during this, so I don't think you have to worry about crying, but it will make you think a lot. So, and it's also going to make you wonder how everything is put together and where the story is going. So I recommend this if you're looking for something that's just a little bit different. Another book that's going to be a bit odd and a little different is After Dark by Haruki Murakami. I still don't know what to think about this. I still don't even know really what happened. So if you're looking for something that's going to make you think a lot and question everything, and also only takes place over a couple hours, the story starts at 11:50-ish and ends around 7 a.m. So this book takes place only about 7-hour period time. And we get to follow a young woman who is sitting at a cafe at first, and we just kind of follow her evening and follow how her early morning moves forward and her interactions with people. And it's just very dark, mysterious, intriguing. I'm using intriguing a lot today, and I think it's because I think that's the feeling I want during the season, is intriguing and if that makes sense. But this book definitely makes you it makes you question what you're reading, and I can't tell you much more than that. And if you're looking for something where, if you're wanting to kind of jump into Haruki Murakami, but you're kind of intimidated by those thicker books, this is a great start. It's very thin, it's very small, it's a fast-ish read in the sense that it's short. It might take you some time to read because it can be a little confusing. There were pages where I was like, oh, I'm gonna reread that to see if I forgot something or missed something. But yeah, if you're looking for something weird and mysterious and dark, Haruki Murakami After Dark is definitely a recommendation. And a book I haven't read since I was 15, I think. I have fond memories of this book, and I searched everywhere for this, and I found it in Portland, Oregon at Powell's bookstore. And I'm excited to reread it. I'm recommending it now because when I read it, I remember thinking how fantastical and odd and different this book was. And that's Lun Dun, a fantastical book. It's from what I remember, everything that is forgotten or left out for trash ends up in this like upside down world from London. And I think if I'm telling you all the things I can remember from this, and these are the things that are making me get pulled back into the story. The fact that I'm 15 years later, I can still think about this book and want to read it is just impressive to me. And we follow a broken umbrella, I believe, in the first couple pages or chapter. I can't remember, but I remember following a broken umbrella and following it to the other Lun Dun. And I have had this book in my brain ever since I read it. I can't remember very much about it other than being fascinated and just lost in this world of broken and forgotten things. And with it being kind of wintry and dark, and I think makes those feelings of broken, forgotten, and just lost things, or the fact that we don't want to be lost and we want to be found and we want to be seen, and we have this world that's not seen. And I think that's one of the reasons why I get so pulled back to this story, is because it's just so odd. So I'm going to be reading this winter. If you're wanting to read it with me, let me know, because I'm really looking forward to picking it up again. I'm invested in it, and I haven't even read it in forever. But I can't wait to pick this up and read it again. I hope it is as good as I remember it being. So Lun Dun, I recommend because it's just a lost and forgotten world. But I haven't forgotten it. That was corny, but I highly recommend it from what I remember. Now, I have a couple of more like philosophical, mind-bending, weird books that I recommend. And I think I can't find one of them, unfortunately, but I'll talk about it still because, I've talked about it before. It's Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This is my first Japanese author. I'll put a picture right here. Hello. But this was my first Japanese author book, and I loved this book. I thought it was really interesting and talking about how a lot of us regret things. A lot of us question if we've done something correct or if we've done it wrong, if we've said the right things to people, if we said the wrong things to people, if we've missed a point in our life that could possibly have been our moment. And I think though I get lost in those philosophical thoughts a lot. And so I think Before the Coffee Gets Cold was one of my first books where I read, and I was just like, wow, I love this so much. So if you're looking for a book that's going to make you feel very feely feels, and talk a little bit about regrets and acceptance and coffee, then I recommend this book. It's a lovely book. It's really interesting. I found it lovely and sweet and just a delight. And it has a lot of feelings. Another one that I recommend that made me feel a lot of feelings and cry like a frickin' baby, but I just loved so much, was The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arakawa. Oh my gosh, this is so freaking cute and just, feels. Feeling the feels. If you want to feel the feels, I recommend this. It's gonna make you feel all the feelings that you can feel in a day. I know that was a lot, but it's a really short book. It's really easy to read. It's a quick read. I read it in a day, and I was just lost in the story. I bawled my eyes out at the end, but not because it's a terrible ending, but because it's just a lovely ending. And we end up following a man who finds a stray cat, and the man and the stray cat become best friends, and we follow their journey of traveling to each of his friends to interact with his friends and talk about this cat, and it's just so freaking cute. I'm not going to talk about it more than that because I don't want to give away the story. It's a pretty simple story to understand, and you'll get it pretty quickly, but it's just, oh my gosh, I love this book. And if I ever want to cry, this is the book I'm going to read. The Art of Racing in the Rain, I'm also saying will make you cry, but this one made me bawl my eyes out at the end, where my partner asked me if I was okay and if I needed a tea or a little soup or something like that, because I was so sad and happy all at the same time. Okay, moving on. Another philosophical, more kind of mind-bending book of just making you think about regrets and feelings is The Midnight Library by Haig. This book was talked about a lot, I think about a year or two ago, I can't remember, but I really liked this one. I thought it was really, I don't think it's for everybody. I'll first say that. I really do think this has a pull towards more a certain audience, and talking about regrets and talking about if we could replay those regrets or alternate universes or alternate ideas. And I think this one is for a specific audience. For me, I love this one. It's a 5-star book for me. For my partner, it was a 3-star book, and that's perfectly okay. It's okay to have different ideas and different opinions, but for me, I really connected with our main character, who we follow throughout her journey of kind of replaying regrets in her brain and replaying regrets through her life and trying to figure out if she's made the right decisions through each step and each choice and each decision she's ever made. And that's one thing I think during this time of year, I think a lot of us think about is the idea of, have we done the correct thing every step of the way? And it's impossible to know. It's impossible to understand if we've done everything right. It's impossible to know if we should have worn the pink shoes or the blue shoes, and that is such a small little detail. It's impossible to know if we should have taken that job at the movie studio, or if we took the correct job by taking the job as a recruiter. It's impossible to know if moving to Germany was the right decision, even though I know in my heart that I believe 100% it was the right decision. But then you question, what if I hadn't done that? What if I would have stayed in Seattle? Would I have made this YouTube channel? Would I have continued being with my partner and getting engaged with him? Would I have continued? My battery died, so I apologize for the lighting change. And I also want to say I do not regret moving to Germany. Out of everything I've done in my life, that is the one thing I truly, truly believe I've done correct. I would say I more probably think if my communications degree in journalism was the correct decision. But anyway, Midnight Library, highly recommend. Definitely will make you think a lot about your own life and think about how your decisions have affected your life as it is today, but it does have a really good ending. So don't make the fact that it talks about regrets as something so negative. It does have a really good ending, and it ends on a positive outcome, if that is a good way to say that. And the last book I'm going to talk about 2 other things, but the last book I'm going to talk about is one I'm actually halfway through right now, and it's another Japanese book. I've been really into the Japanese authors lately. I think they have definitely a different way of talking about feelings and emotions and philosophy, and I think they end up, at least the books I read, they end up talking a lot about our decisions in life and how we can better our lives, and I don't know, they're just really interesting and lovely. So another one I am currently reading that I've been very much enjoying is What You Are Looking For in the Library by Michiko Aoyama. I'm sorry, I'm probably pronouncing these incorrectly, but Michiko Aoyama. I'm gonna stick with that one. This has definitely been a very interesting book. It's kind of a book with different stories intertwined in it. So we have different characters in each chapter, and they all end up experiencing somewhat of the same thing. And that somewhat of the same thing is one of the main ideas in the story, and that's why I don't want to say it. And I think it's just very sweet and introspective, and makes you also think about things you could be doing for yourself. And so if you're thinking about, man, I should learn a new skill, or man, I should really do something different with my day, or man, I should move to that house that's beautiful down the road. I think if you're feeling those things or thinking those things, I think this is actually a really good book for you to pick up, because it's a way to kind of see it a different way. And I just find it really lovely. I can't rate it right now, but I'm finding it lovely. So those are all the books I'm going to talk about. I know that was a lot of books, that was a lot of information, but I do hope you pick up one of these. I think they're all very delightful, and I think they're perfect for the winter season, and to feel your feelings, think more philosophical, think about your life in general, but also realize that your life is wonderful and lovely, and you are lovely, and to love yourself and care for yourself and just do the best thing for you. And that's why today we're having a relaxed, spontaneous winter day that's also cozy and for ourselves. But I have 2 more books I'm going to talk about, and they're not books, but they are books because it's a book. But these are actually cookbooks, and these are my 2 most favorite cookbooks. These are the 2 cookbooks I have, one gotten as a gift to me, but I also just love so much, and that's The Italian Baker by Melissa Froti, and her second book, Melissa Forti's Christmas Baking Book. These are the most beautiful books. They're filled with amazing recipes, filled with amazing photos, and if I could be like Melissa Forti, I would. I have her first name at least, but she is just absolutely just a sweetheart. I have read part of her story in this book. I like reading the little information she has in her recipes, so it doesn't just give you the recipe, the instructions, but it also gives you a little bit of information, like a background story of the recipe itself. And her photos are just absolutely gorgeous. I love looking at these, and I love just looking through the book, which is really funny because it's a cookbook. But one of the things I really, really love to do during this time of season is find my passions again and just fall in love with them again. And I'm not gonna lie, I've always been in love with baking. I love baking, and I love it all year long. But to find somebody that I can look up to, and to find passions that are like-minded, and just see her growth and understand that her growth is completely different from mine. But if she can do it, and I put my heart and passion and everything I can into it as well, then maybe I can do it too. And some of you already know, my dream would be open a bakery, and I would love to open a bakery that sells amazing coffee that's freshly made, baked goods that are baked from my own ovens, that are pies that smell like heaven when you walk in. Actually, what's really funny is there's a show called Pushing Daisies, and one of the characters owns a pie shop. Our main character, his name's Ned, and he owns a pie shop. And every time I watch that show, I think, oh, I wish I could own a pie shop where every time you walk in, it smells like beautiful pie. And also have scones like what we made this morning, and just have this world where you feel comfortable and cozy and wonderful. And when you walk in, I'm there to say, hello, how are you? I'm so happy to have you here. Let me make you a beautiful cup of tea or a wonderful flavored coffee. And what can I get you? Do you want some pie, a scone, a cupcake? What does your heart desire? And so I think one of the things I highly recommend is find somebody you find passionate about their own thing that you also find passionate about. If you have passion with crocheting, find somebody online or find an author of a book. Find a creator that you can connect with and really admire and just love, in the sense of understanding that they have also worked so hard towards their goal, that you can also work so hard towards your goal. If they can do it and put so much work and effort into the things that they love, then you also can do it. If you put work and effort and just energy into the things you love. I know I'm kind of rambling, but that's one of the reasons why I'm recommending these books. Melissa Forti is my, she's almost like my spirit animal, and that's really stupid to say. And then Melissa Froti, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry I'm gushing over you. But your cookbooks, her cookbooks are, I'm getting teary. They give me like hope to actually do what I want to do. I'm sorry. And looking through these cookbooks and seeing these pictures and seeing her passion, I want to have that same thing. And if I try really hard, and if I do what I love, I will get there someday. So, I'm so sorry. I don't think I've ever cried on a video. That's kind of goofy. Not really. We're allowed to have our feelings, but anyway, I got really vulnerable there, and I'm really sorry, but you can read all the books you want to read. Books are fantastic. The Midnight Library, Lun Dun, all of these books are great, but finding somebody who you can look up to and have kind of like I forgot the word. Somebody who you can inspire to be. Not directly be, but you can inspire to move up into their direction, I think is really good. And so if you like to bake, no matter, if you just like to bake, I highly recommend getting Melissa Forti's cookbooks, baking books. They're beautiful, they're wonderful, the recipes are great, they're easy to follow, they're delicious. I made a tequila cake last year for my partner's birthday, and it was so good. I'm not gonna lie, you get drunk off of one slice, but it's so delicious. Or it was a rum cake. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember if it was, I think it was rum. It's probably rum because tequila cake sounds really funky, but I think it was a rum cake. So it is a rum cake, and it was absolutely delicious. But we're gonna move on because we have other things to do, and and I already got emotional. So I highly recommend, like I said, reading on a cozy day where you just want to feel feels, or finding somebody you can follow passions with and just fall in line with. And so we're gonna go ahead and move on now that we've talked about baking books and other books and things I highly recommend during this time of season. I always recommend a good feeling and a good time to feel feels. And I think the winter season is perfect for that. And I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Let me get my thoughts in order. The books I recommend are a lot of books that are going to make you think or get lost in stories. And I think that those books are perfect for this time of season. For if you want to feel the feels, or if you just want to get lost in another land, no matter, I think the books I shared here are books that I loved during this time of season and would read over and over again. And the baking books are just really great for me, and I think for you. If you love baking or want to try out recipes, I think her books are really grand. Melissa Forti is a wonderful baker, and her, like I said, her recipes are really easy to follow. And so I highly recommend her books. But I also highly recommend finding a passion and finding something you love to do. And with that, I think what we're going to go ahead and do is have some coffee and Kuchen, which is coffee and cake. I think it's a perfect time to have coffee and cake and kind of get back into the day, or just enjoy some little cookies. I love the season for all the cookies that I get to eat. I indulge 100% in all the cookies and sweets I can. So we're gonna have some coffee and Kuchen, and then we're gonna go ahead and work on some crafts and work on some activities that are going to go ahead and warm our heart, bring some light into our day, and keep us a little distracted if we're feeling a little blue. Coffee and Kuchen is probably one of my favorite things I've picked up here while living in Germany. It's definitely a perfect time of day. It's between 2 and 3 o'clock when you're having the little sleepy, little slow down, and you make yourself a cup of tea or a coffee, and then you eat a couple sweets, and it's just a perfect time. So I highly recommend putting it in your daily routine as well, or maybe just like a weekend adventure. And then with our crafts, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started with a few things that I've already done. And there's a few little activities I wanna do as well today. I think I'm gonna make some bookmarks as some Christmas presents that are really easy to make. Anybody can do them and they don't involve too much supplies. So let's go ahead and get a little crafty. One of the first crafts I decided to do was a large garland outside on our balcony. We decided not to put real garland inside our apartment just because the nettles would fall behind our furniture and we didn't want to have to be cleaning up nettles for the next year. So we do have a live tree, but we have fake garland around the apartment, and outside we decided to put live garland so that way the birds could pick any of the bugs and use the twigs and everything like that. So we decided to put garland all the way around our balcony so when we step out there it smells really good and it's really delightful. And of course I covered up some of our little tiny herbs that we have. So we have our rosemary and thyme out here, and I'm hoping they stay alive. But for our garland, it's just one of the things that make it a little bit more greenery, a little bit more lively, and then the birds are absolutely loving it. The next thing I decided to do was do a little bit of acrylic painting. I try to do this at least once a season. This one I'm not completely in love with. My little hut is frustrating me and my little river is just not rivering enough for me, but it doesn't always end up being perfect, and that's completely okay. I ended up making this one and I really like this one. I've made this one for my partner's mother and I thought it was so beautiful and so delightful. It's really easy. You just mix the blue and the white together and scrape it back and forth in the background, and then you can add twigs and branches by just adding a little bit of browns, different colors of browns, a little bit of black, and for the green I just kind of swept my brush around back and forth, added a string to the bulb, and just made this bulb out of one solid color, and then added a little bit of dark and a little bit of white, so that way I have a little bit of a glow coming from my bulb. And the one I love the most, the one I'm really happy with, is this one, and that's just because this one ended up being a little bit more complicated, a little bit more different. I'm not a professional painter. This is all just for fun. These aren't going to be gorgeous and wonderful, but these are just for me and for my partner and for our home. So this one and my bulb actually go really well together. I think they actually look really nice together. And then I have the tree as well. And what I ended up doing was I ended up mixing all the colors, so all the background colors have that same blue and white. And then on this one, I ended up just adding a little bit of a darker blue so that way it could blend in and have a little bit of a nighttime effect. And then for the trees, I just brushed it back and forth. I did kind of a Bob Ross effect. So Bob Ross is excellent for when you're looking for something for inspiration. And then for the light, I just added a little bit of like touches here and there. And that's why I love this one so much, is because I actually remembered to add the glow from the bulb. But these two are my favorites. And then the other one, this cabin one, is just okay. I'm not completely happy with it. But the thing about crafting is it takes time, it takes practice, and that's completely okay. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to our bookmarks. These bookmarks are so easy, and they make the perfect gift. For these bookmarks, I'm gonna go ahead and cut some watercolor paper. I will be using watercolor and acrylic, but I think the watercolor works best on watercolor specific paper, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. I'm not measuring these out, I'm just using the other bookmark to kind of gauge how big I want them to be. And then I'm going to put orange and red. You can also just use one color on my little paint board, and then I'm actually going to use the top of my paint cap to make my little bulbul circles. You can use anything else that's round, but this ended up being like the perfect size for what I needed. So I just put a little paint on it and then dabbed it onto my bookmarks. So that way I have these perfect little circles. And before I put it back on, I went ahead and just wiped it off so that way it was mostly clean. And then I used watercolor to fill in the bubbles. So I used reds or magenta and orange just to add different colors. I didn't match them directly to the acrylic circle I added. I just wanted it kind of the same shade, but it didn't have to be exactly the same. They're kind of fun, they're a little different, and that's all I wanted. Once I got the bubbles filled in, I went ahead and turned the bookmark around and added the twigs that the bubbles are going to be sitting on. The twigs aren't going to be perfect. Again, this is just a fun little craft. You can look up twigs if you want to see what's going to look best, but I just went ahead and added some brown and then put some black in there as well before it dried. To add a little dimension, we're going to be taking off a little bit of paint off the top of each bubble, so that way it kind of shows a little bit of light or a little glisten, so that way we can see through it. If you notice that one of them is a little dry, don't stress, just wet your paintbrush a little bit and wash away some of that paint, and then dab your napkin directly on it and it'll take the paint right off. Now we're going to go ahead and add the string. I'm just using a black pen for this, but you can use a green pen, a gold pen, or you can use paint, whatever works best for you. Add a little top for your bubble so that way it actually can be hanging on something. And then I add a little bow because it's just cute. I'm going to repeat this step for each of the bubbles, and then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I add the string directly to the branch as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more of a black part so that way the bubble is tied to the branches. And before I'm done, I'll put a little bit of like a yellow mustard or gold paint around the cap of the paint again, and then dab it on there so we have these nice little circle glows around everything. So it's all pretty and cute like this. And there we have it, little bookmarks that are adorable and cute. And the last craft, the last thing I have, and this I think is just absolutely adorable, is I put rosemary in a glass with some cranberry with a little bit of water, froze it, and then I put a little champagne in there. You can also use sect or sparkling water, whatever just lifts your heart with happiness, and it looks like a little snow globe. How adorable is this? This is such a fun way to have a nice little fancy drink without being too fancy. Again, you can put sparkling water in there and you get all these bubbles and everything like that. This is absolutely adorable, really fun to drink, and I'm drinking it while I edit this video. So I hope you guys enjoy this little cute little thing. And then make sure you grab some cookies as well, because it's the holidays and it's winter and we deserve something sweet and happy. So I've lost a lot of my light. It's quite dark outside even though it's not very late. So I figured I'll go ahead, even though we're going to work on a couple more crafts, do my outro now so that way you can still see me. And I just want to thank you guys so much for being part of this video, and I hope you're feeling good and feeling, at least feeling feelings. I think that's always a good sign during a day where you're either home alone and just wanting to have like a cozy, spontaneous winter day, or if you're home and just wanting to feel a little blue. Finding things to do is really great, and I love reading during this time of year. I love working on small crafts that make me feel like I've accomplished something. Making something delicious that's just gonna warm my heart from the inside out. And so I really, really do enjoy the fact that you guys are here today. Thank you for joining me on this interesting, spontaneous winter day of mine. And thank you for letting me get a little emotional earlier. I don't normally do that, but I do appreciate the love and care and support, and I would love to hear what you guys do on kind of a spontaneous winter day or a day where you're feeling a little blue. What kind of activities do you like doing? Do you just like vegging out on the sofa and binging Netflix or YouTube, or do you like going for walks outside even though it's raining? What do you love doing? I'm always looking for fun little things to do on days where I'm just not feeling like doing anything, which is really funny because those are days where I really don't want to do anything, but I know I should be doing something. So anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. I've rambled enough in this video, but thank you so much. I can't thank you guys enough. Your support and love help me continue moving forward in this channel, and I just can't wait to celebrate all of the wins with you, and maybe one day I'll see you guys at my bakery. So until next time, you guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, a lovely middle of December, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao!